Recently, there's been controversy involving a company named Black Girl Gamers that has spiraled into a very long, messy branch of arguments ranging from personal beliefs all the way to legal action, bringing people from all sides into the woodworks. And I feel a lot of issues in this controversy are actually very important to have a conversation about. So let's begin. For those of you who don't know Black Girl Gamers, they started as a Facebook group where black female gamers would look for others like them to queue up, collab, and interact with. Very harmless. But eventually, Black Girl Gamers evolved into a company, a consulting company slash talent agency. And over time, they began to appear in a few negative situations they didn't necessarily need to be involved in. As a consulting company, Black Girl Gamers would aid in game and character development for developers in the gaming and film industries, promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. There are other companies like this, and most developers will use them to make sure they're not misrepresenting a certain group or doing anything bad with their character, consulting. However, some of the gaming community would start linking games that had what they perceived as poorly written characters or stories that felt insufferable or quote unquote woke propaganda with these consulting companies. However, Black Girl Gamers was not under fire. It was other consulting companies that were getting heat. In fact, another community that was really angry were looking at Black Girl Gamers at first. However, Black Girl Gamers would kind of insert themselves into the situation, calling a lot of people racist and claiming they're being harassed, even though the lens wasn't really on them at first. But once Black Girl Gamers came out swinging, the lens surely did shift to them, and the fact that Black Girl Gamers consulted with Square Enix for Square Enix's game Forspoken, which released in January of last year, and it wasn't really well received by some. The game is rated at an average of 3.1 stars, and looking through the reviews, it's very split. You either love it or you hate it. The 5-star reviews point to this game seeming really fun and fulfilling. The 1-star reviews are a lot of people who hated the game's black female protagonist Frey, saying it was stupid this game was pushing this black female protag, or hating Frey's character, or saying the dialogue and writing was terrible. I never played the game, so I don't know if these criticisms are valid or not, but regardless of whether they're valid or not, Black Girl Gamers coming in swinging and the lens turning to focus on them would lead to some actual harassment, and in turn Black Girl Gamers to push back against said harassment, causing an endless cycle. Fast forward a bit to roughly 1 month ago, and Black Girl Gamers announces they are hiring and are looking for black women content creators. Now remember, they're already under some heat right now, but it's nothing too crazy. But this tweet would lead a journalism group called The Park Place to go on and make an article titled, "Forspoken consultant company Black Girl Gamers appears to discriminate in their hiring practices while claiming they are being harassed." And the authors of this article really seemed to not like Black Girl Gamers, and did come off a little biased, but the article made claims that Black Girl Gamers discriminate in their hiring practices, claims their mentions of being harassed were fake and just to bait attention, and also the article criticizes their involvement in Forspoken. This article started to gain some traction and eventually get a statement from Black Girl Gamers. Black Girl Gamers stated this article was not true and was defamation, and they announced that they will be taking legal action against those who claim Black Girl Gamers has discriminatory hiring practices. And they even issued a cease and desist to that Park Place. The thing is, they kind of have been very open about the fact they only hire black women. Like, very open. It's pretty clear if you aren't a black woman, they aren't hiring you. So while the article was harsh, it doesn't seem like defamation. It seems like they're making conclusions based on the company's behavior. And yes, this is a black girl gaming group, and they obviously are going to promote the fact that they are a black girl gaming group. But from a hiring and staff perspective, there have been reports of some within the company being really obsessed about sticking it to white people and bringing a fuck white people vibe that a majority doesn't seem to like, which of course ended up bringing out the horde. Like, yeah, at first they were under some heat, but now everything's on fire, and Black Girl Gamers is getting called out for multiple things. First, there are people who are angry about Black Girl Gamers' tendency to get into drama or quote-unquote clout chase, swooping in to insert themselves into a situation, say some people are racist, get attention, and get out. Second, there are people who are angry about Black Girl Gamers' threats of legal action, saying it goes against free speech, especially when the Park Place's article, even though it seems biased, doesn't really say anything untrue. Black Girl Gamers did announce they are only hiring black females. Which leads to our third group. People who think Black Girl Gamers and other minority groups are racist, and minority and marginalized groups don't need to exist as a safe space. This is what I mean when I say a branch of varying arguments. The problem is there's a lot of valid criticisms, and there's a lot of people with criticisms who seem in it for the wrong reasons, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of political buzzwords going around like propaganda and agenda and, of course, woke, that's spinning the entire focus from, okay, clout chasing drama, bad PR, and hiring practices to just like political race war or whatever, but we're going to try to sort through this. Now, it is true, reading through Black Girl Gamers, they have stepped into situations they didn't need to be in the past. However, this is a group that is built on strongly advocating for diversity and inclusion, and when fighting for diversity and inclusion, you do gotta kind of throw some elbows to make yourself heard. However, sometimes the ways Black Girl Gamers does it, especially with recent situations involving other consulting companies, Black Girl Gamers has inserted themselves into situations that garnered attention and then came out of said situation making claims of harassment, and it can come off as a little clout chasey, yes. It is also true that it is illegal to hire based off of race or gender. Now, does it happen? Oh, yeah. Companies hire based on preference all the time. You ever notice how a certain type of people are sitting in at your company's board meetings? You ever notice how certain designers only have thin models or only straight white models or white female models? The examples are endless. Basically, I'm saying no matter what, there are hiring practices that are subject to bias, some more than others, but they rarely ever get checked, for better or for worse, mostly for worse. But this is because the companies don't scream it out loud. Great Clips doesn't say, hey, we only hire white people, but I've never seen a brother out of Great Clips. But what I'm trying to say is, you can't just announce, hey, we're only hiring black females at our company. Yes, you are a black female group, but from a company standpoint, you can't really shout that you're only hiring a certain group out loud and get mad when people say that you're hiring a certain group. Now, Black Girl Gamers has claimed that they actually do have a very diverse staff and made a thread discussing why they say these allegations are untrue, but again, not only in tweets, but we have employees saying we only hire black women or they'd never think of hiring a white person, things like that. And it's not helping their case, and as for the legal action, I don't think they can win their case. It also doesn't help that there are people who were previously involved with Black Girl Gamers who are coming out and calling it a cult or propaganda group, one of these people being a creator named Gothics, but these claims are becoming a he said, she said kind of battle, and Black Girl Gamers actually went on releasing a 33 tweet long thread talking about their history with Gothics, and long story short, it's just kind of being turned into a politics battle, the woke mob versus the free thinkers or whatever. And speaking of the woke mob versus free thinkers or whatever, there are some who are taking this much further beyond hiring practices and PR and onto the notion of minority groups themselves. A lot of people are attacking not the company, but the existence of Black Girl Gamers as a minority group and other minority groups, saying things like, well, if an all-white group was made, it would be an outrage, and minority groups only exist to exclude others. And that's what the majority of this argument has become. There are a lot of people criticizing Black Girl Gamers, but some of them just seem to join into the criticism for other reasons, certain biases. Because the fact is, it is obviously very important for minority groups to exist. That is just a fact. The reason minority groups exist is to give a safe space for those who are treated unfairly every day. And many are acting like these groups are some racist political statement, but they're not at all. Minority groups are harmless and are found commonly. I mean, in my college, we have the LGBTQ Alliance, Women Who Code. I'm involved in a collective of black programmers. And while the company Black Girl Gamers seems to show some concerning, questionable behavior, the group it started as has a right to exist no matter what. These safe spaces are made to give those who experience discrimination like racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and more to continue doing what they love and exist in a space where they are not surrounded by hate, but instead by people like them. And if you think, oh, well, no one's actually experiencing racism in games or in real life, like, you're just ignorant. There's nothing I can really say to you. Like, if you think that, there's no saving you. You're just ignorant. And we can give endless examples. Like, a majority of my audience is female. Like, 60% of my audience is female. So I want to ask, for those of you who play a co-op game, how many of you have spoken in a voice chat and immediately got dogged on as soon as you speak a word just because you're female or sound feminine? Or someone in a forum found out you were female and the way you were treated shifted dramatically? Tell me in the comments. I'm curious to see. Thing is, trust me, I know it happens a lot because it happens all the time. It's a common occurrence in any game. If someone finds out you are a minority somehow, it will be weaponized against you immediately. People will make it clear you're not wanted and call you anything under the sun. And the reason these safe spaces exist is because imagine you get into a game and people start telling you they don't want you here, calling you whatever they want. What do? Well, you clearly aren't wanted there, so you go make your own space. And that's what happens. But then the mean people go, oh, whoa, that's not what we want. You can't just exclude me, that's immoral. And then they try to break apart your space just so they can tell you that they don't want you here again. it's a stupid cycle that we see all the time, and it's not just in games. And for the argument of, oh well, if white people made a group, then it would cause an outrage. We're like, yeah, you don't need a safe space. Never have I ever been in a game and I heard someone get roasted for being white or straight or being a man. I've been roasted by white people in game for not sounding black enough and sounding white, if that counts. But I mean, they still called me the N-word. Like, I'm never in a game and I hear someone tell a teammate that they can't play because they're a guy. Usually, if you make a good play in a game, it's complemented with some sort of affirmation of manhood. Like, oh, your balls are huge. You're just that guy. He's him. Or your dick is just bigger. Like, these people aren't facing hate. They're allowed to be comfortable in their own space. So why are you arguing you need a safe space? Like, society is your safe space. Like, we're not excluding you. You're excluding us, so we're avoiding you. Like, you can't, like, call someone the N-word and then get mad when they don't want to talk to you. So in conclusion, yeah, Black Girl Gamers as a company does seem to show some questionable behavior. And I think that has to do with the fact they still see themselves as a minority group, but function as a company. Because it's obvious a group for black female gamers is for black female gamers. However, some in the space seem to flaunt and taunt and clout chase a bit, which isn't really good for a minority space. Yes, you should be proud of who you are and what you do, and never let anyone take that away from you, but remember, you're Black Girl Gamers, you aren't like the fuck white people club. And while most women in this group are innocently trying to enjoy their safe space, it does seem like some are just kind of like poking the bear. And I'm not going to say it's wrong to have some resentment for the ways you're treated or to be weary of certain groups of people that you receive bigotry from, but letting that resentment kind of run your safe haven brings a risk of that hate taking it over, if you know what I mean. And while I don't think your resentment can match the hatred you face in your day-to-day, it's not good to get hung up and linger on bigots because they just eat this shit up. Like, look what's happening right now. There's a ton of people just jumping on this just to hate and spark political arguments and use buzzwords to bring in more people to attack each other in safe spaces. Like, most people looking into this controversy aren't even worried about the legal matters or hiring practices anymore. Like, it's blown out of proportion. Regardless, if there's anything to take away from this, I think it's to keep in mind why our safe spaces are important and to look at Black Girl Gamers and see maybe some things that went wrong and maybe what not to replicate, what we could fix, and how to avoid summoning the minority police and the quote-unquote anti-woke mob, because it's not a fun tango to deal with. But tell me what you think. Tell me your thoughts on minority spaces. Tell me if you think this whole situation with Black Girl Gamers and this quote-unquote Gamergate is being blown out of proportion. And also feel free to share stories of safe spaces that you found to just get away from the bigotry and hatred that you may experience in games. Also, if you like the video, make sure to actually like it because it lets me know that you guys are enjoying this type of content and it lets me know what to make more of. And also subscribe to me so you can see more of my content. But that's all I have for now. I'll see you guys.